So welcome to our second vignette. We want to talk about complexity. It's actually the first chapter of our book. So something that we always talk about is how complex our work is. And I think, as we've worked together over the years, we've realized that there's far more that we don't know than we do know. In fact, there's even more that we don't know that we don't know.
I know. I love that idea, and I think that's one of the things that I love about this book and this idea of complexity is that there is no right answer. And I think in our field, we've been trying to find the right answers. We've been trying to ensure things are, ensure quality. And the notion that I think that, we think about the whole early childhood sector for such a long time has been built on this idea of complicated. And it's so much more.
Isn't it interesting when you think about those two ideas together, between complexity and something that's complicated? And we like to say that, building a rocket ship to the moon is complicated. It's tricky. You need math skills and you need to be thinking about all kinds of, moving parts, but you're able to do it. It takes time and effort, but you're able to do it. There is a formula to building a rocket ship. And I think part of the challenges that we faced in our field is we've been treating early childhood education like it's complicated, like there is some magical formula that if we just get it right, then somehow we're going to solve all of our problems. And of course, it doesn't work that way. Because it's far more complex
than that.
Because we're human beings.
But wouldn't you agree, though, that there are things within our work that should be complicated? Like finance thing, administrative tasks that we should be complicated that we get to figure out. Not that we don't, consider the complexity within it, but that it's complicated so that the complex things we have more time to pay attention to and think through with.
So the complex things are things that involve people.
Oh, those things.
Relationships. How we move together. Rather than, something that we can work out, finish, that can help us do our
task
work.
Things.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It makes me think about the tool as the rule.
Yes, like the checklist.
That's right.
Yeah.
That
this is it. We've got it. It's all right.
And isn't that a great example of how we have tried to take something that is complex, and when we think about it from a complicated point of view, we create a tool that is supposed to be magically, as long as we can check it all off, then we have something called quality, or we've done something right. And I remember a colleague of ours giving us this example of, a checklist that offers this notion of, for every child in the classroom, you have to have a baby doll for each child. Yes. And I think the intent behind that would be that there would be no arguing and everybody gets something. And then she offers this question, what could happen with a thoughtful educator with 5 children but only one baby doll?
Yeah.
What possibly could emerge around sharing and coming together as a community if the conditions are set to involve that or to provide that. Yeah. And I always thought that was a really great way to think about it.
It makes me think about this idea that, and one of the reasons why we think in questions in our work, and we think it's so important to think in questions, is because, but also to think in questions knowing there isn't a right answer to those questions or a right way to think about them, but many possible ways to think about them. And I think that's that has brought such richness to our work as pedagogical leaders. But I think the questions that lay within this book and the questions that lay within the Institute work that we do really do help people to kind of like think differently.
And when you think about the more we learn about how different cultures take up ideas, different ways of knowing, different ways of being, that as we come together, and this is what we love to do, and this is why we do our institutes, when we come together and we provide space and time to listen to each other and listen to each other from a place of wanting to learn and curiosity rather than a place of wanting to agree or come to some, or convince somebody or win an argument. But instead, understand how different and complex we are, and how we can start to move towards these shared understandings of what we're trying to build together.
And deeper understandings.
Yeah.
In our institutes, or even I think in any of our work, when we start to notice people agreeing all the time, it's like,
ooh, then we know we have to do something.
We have to do something different. Because that's lovely, but that doesn't move us, right? It's the place of discourse that moves us in our work. Yeah.
So complexity is important. It's also, we recognize it's something to practice.
Yes.
To acknowledge that we don't have all the answers and we never will. In fact, the more questions that we have, the more questions come up. And
Absolutely.
so that's part of the evolution of our work together. And that's what we love to invite others into.
Yeah.